Roster cutdown day is just 1 week away, ladies and gentlemen, and the Titans are going to have to go from 90 players all the way down to 53 as we start the NFL season. Welcome into Titans Today by Chat Sports. I am your host, Brett Alper. I have 4 cut candidates that we could see the Titans kick the boot to once we get down to roster cutdown day next Tuesday. They have a game this Friday. It's the final preseason game of the first part of the year before we get into what really happens once we get to week 1, where the Titans take on the Broncos this Friday. They take on the Minnesota Vikings, and this is a make or break for some. You're going to see a lot of players that are going to play a lot more than they usually did during the preseason, and we might see the starters. I expect to see the starters a little bit, but not that much. You're going to see a lot of the people that are make or break players trying to make the roster, giving their heart out. So Friday's game means a lot more to some than the starters. But before we get into that, my goal for today's show is to get 25 subs and beat Jaguars today. But no, Chat Sports doesn't have a Jaguars Today channel because they're small. And if we want to keep making videos for you guys, we got to get these sub numbers up. We are on our way to 12,000 subscribers. So go ahead. If you want Titans coverage, if you want it a lot more, go ahead, hit that sub button. So the first cut candidate, and I think that you guys would not be surprised because everybody, Titans fans, non-Titans fans, were pissed off at Van Jefferson. And you signed him in the offseason, kind of being that veteran guy. But since he has been on this team, he has not looked good. These are his preseason stats. I know he hasn't played that much, but 3 targets, 0 receptions. And we saw Calvin Ridley to compare, like being that wide receiver. And Van Jefferson's supposed to be your second wide receiver with Tyler Lockett in the slot. And Calvin Ridley caught 3 passes. 3 out of Cam Ward's 5 targets in that first game. Well, Van Jefferson's played in both games. And we have 3 targets, no receptions. He has not been good. In practice, he's been dropping passes. In yesterday's practice, we saw a lot because we saw Van Jefferson go to the jugs machine after. It was not good for him. And I'll just say this. I don't know if we have the picture, Producer Lopez, but you saw that beautiful throw from Cam Ward to Van Jefferson. The beautiful throw. And what happened? He dropped it. It was right in the breadbasket. Right there. And Van Jefferson didn't catch it. And he said it. He said it during the post-media earlier in practice throughout the week. Hey, well, guess what? It's my fault. I take the blame for it. It was the perfect pass from Cam Ward, but unfortunately, he did not drop it. And it's getting rough for him. I'll say it's getting a little bit rough for him because there's a new guy that's emerging as another wide receiver, and it's the rookie Alec Manor. And with him coming into fruition and him getting better and better and better, like that last preseason game against the Atlanta Falcons, he looked good. With the emergence from him, there's really no need for Van Jefferson on this roster. It doesn't make any sense to have him on this roster. And I moved the depth chart up a little bit. The official depth chart had Van Jefferson as your wide receiver 3, but as the games go on, I have Calvin Ridley as your 1, Tyler Lockett at 2, and then Alec Manor as your 3. I've dropped Van Jefferson down, and we'll get into the wide receivers later in the show because wink, wink, nod, nod. There's another cut candidate that could be a wide receiver, but we'll get to that on the back half of the show. But I'll ask you guys, would you cut Van Jefferson? Because after he dropped that pass, I was done with him. I'm like, dude, you have not been the same guy that you were when you won the Super Bowl with the Rams back in 2021. It is a long time coming, and there's no need with the emergence of Alec Manor. Just no need to keep Van Jefferson on this roster. I got them keeping about 6, and I don't think Van Jefferson is going to be one of those cut candidates. Another one is a receiver, but he's also a tight end, and that is Josh Whyle. And we saw in that Falcons game, throughout that Falcons game, Gunnar Helm is an absolute dog. And I think that he's already beaten out Whyle for that second spot. You know, Chigakonkwo has that tight end 1, but Gunnar Helm has gone to that tight end 2, Josh Whyle 3, and then David Martin Robinson has gotten better as time has gone on, but I think that Gunnar Helm is going to be that guy. And he's jumped. He's jumped Josh Whyle on this roster. And not only that, the Titans, they're looking for a pass catching back and also a blocking tight end. And when you have Gunnar Helm making catches like this one right here, that is absolutely insane. Double covered right in the bread box. Like he just mossed two of those guys, and it was kind of crazy. And then when you go into look at the guy that's behind him in David Martin Robinson, which I think that he is better than Gunnar Helm. No, not better than Gunnar Helm. What am I talking about? Better than Josh Whyle. David Martin Robinson has a higher ceiling. And when at you look at what the Titans need. I said it before. You need a blocking tight end. And Gunnar Helm, he can't block that well at all. This is going into his third year, and the Titans have primarily used him as a receiving tight end. David Martin Robinson also can be that guy that you can receive. He can also play special teams. That's why he's still in this roster. So it's kind of just, it's okay. I think that it's going to be the end for Josh Whyle. Unfortunately, you might see him play a lot as we go into this final preseason game against the Vikings. Going to keep going into some more cut candidates, but first I got to welcome back one of our sponsors, and it's a great sponsor, and it is Prize Picks. Prize Picks is a great way to make money fast. Preseason football is underway and college football is here. Don't miss any of the action this season on Prize Picks. Prize Picks is simple to play. Just pick more or less on 2 or 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you can cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. Prize Picks is the best way to win real money this football season. Which players are going off? Which ones aren't? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on Prize Picks. And Prize Picks is doing a little something special for you guys that love football all year long. Dak Prescott, a max discount. More than 0.5 passing yards. You can use this and put it with any other player that you choose. Calvin Ridley, the more on receiving yards, 925. Go with the more on that one. Tony Pollard, more on 900 rushing yards. You could do that too. You can play that with Dak Prescott and the max discount at over 0.5 passing yards. So download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. The link for that will be in the comments and description of today's video. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, let's keep going with some of the cut candidates that we have here. Gabe Jeudy-Lally. And this is a name that we really haven't talked about that much, but that is a problem because you have a lot of cornerbacks on this roster and a lot of uncertainty with what the cornerbacks could be. The health of L'Jarius Sneed is still unknown. We have no idea if he is going to play or if he's not going to play. Brian Callahan talked about it earlier today and said, yeah, he's progressing. He might be available week 1. Maybe. We've been hearing that all year long, people. But then if he is healthy, then you got to expect they're only going to keep probably 6 cornerbacks on the roster. Well, there's a rookie, Marcus Harris, who's kind of beating out Gabe Jeudy-Lally beating over him. And Marcus Harris in the last preseason game against Atlanta has looked a lot better. 3 tackles, 1 pass breakup, and they were trying to target him. They saw the rookie, 5 targets, only 2 receptions. Well, Gabe Jeudy-Lally, 2 tackles, 0 pass breakups, 3 targets, and 1 reception. They had around the same kind of snaps, around 38 for each of them, but it seems like that Marcus Harris is above him on the roster. I think the Titans like what they see out of him. They see more of a ceiling with him as he was also kind of that veteran guy, or Gabe Jeudy-Lally's a veteran guy. They see more of a potential with Marcus Harris than they see with Gabe Jeudy-Lally. So I'm going to say that he could be cut. We're going to see a lot of both of these guys on Friday, and whoever plays better probably is going to be the one that stays on this 53-man roster. And then our final one, the fan favorite, but unfortunately it is just not happening, and it's Xavier Restrepo. And I was saying it all year long that I didn't think Cam Ward was going to let him get cut. But The Titans, they just see him as a piece and don't like him that very much because in 2 preseason games, he's only played 16 snaps on pass plays total. That's it. Nothing else. You haven't really seen him catch a pass. You've seen him get targeted. There hasn't been much of Xavier Restrepo, and there was also a possibility. Oh, maybe he could play special teams. Maybe you could find him a spot on kick return, punt return. Nope. Unfortunately, I don't see Restrepo making this roster. And he's looked good. He's looked good during training camp. But once preseason started, you didn't see him in that first preseason game get into the game until 5 minutes left in the third quarter and then only played a few snaps. Second preseason game, same exact thing. So that kind of shows what the Titans see in him. And I said it earlier, I see the Titans keeping 6 wide receivers. And Xavier Restrepo is not one of them. You have your Calvin Ridley. You have Elike Manor. I don't think Van Jefferson is making this roster either. But you see those 3 guys on the right side. Jameer DK is your draft pick. You're not getting rid of him, especially how good he's shown and how fast he is. James Prochet II and Bryce Oliver are the 2 guys that were kind of fighting for roster spots. But Prochet II, he has broken out and looked he's looked very, very good. 3 receptions, 35 yards in preseason, and he's also broken out on special teams. He was listed as the kick returner, which is a shock because I thought it was Julius Chestnut. But no, it's Prochet II. And then he's also catching the eye of just some of the beat reporters, some of the coaches. This comes from Teron Davenport, which was a couple days ago. He said James Prochet has had a really good camp. He continues to make plays, just now made a solid catch. It's almost like every time he takes the field in practice and now games, he makes a case for a roster spot. So I think with him making the team, I think Bryce Oliver makes the team. And I think Van Jefferson is already getting the boot. And if he isn't getting the boot, then he's probably staying on a roster. And that means 7. That still has no room for Xavier Restrepo. I think he can make the practice squad. I hope he makes a practice squad, but 53-man, at this point, I do not see it happening. Name a surprise cut candidate, though. Who do you think is going to get cut? There was a possibility. I mean, we saw Otis Reese get cut, and no one thought that was happening. So anything could happen when you're on the bubble. Go ahead. Go down in the comments and name a surprise candidate. And while you're down there, also hit that sub button. We're trying to get to 12,000 subs, people. If you want more Titans coverage every single day, hit that sub button. And as always, tighten up.